and welcome to another Yoga with Tim's Yoga Bite. So today we're going to have a look at a back bend known as the camel. So the camel itself is quite an intense back bend, so we're going to go through it in stages. Easiest, then into the half camel, then working with the heels up and then dropping the heels down, and just working through this and stopping wherever you're comfortable with and working with that. Remember, yoga is a practice. You're just working to improve your body, improve your mobility, improve your alignment. Don't push yourself, just work to where is comfortable for you. And then at the end, I'm going to explain how this pose can be done with a partner. Unfortunately, I don't have a partner here today to be able to show you, so I'm just going to try and explain it. But actually doing this pose with a partner is really good if you find it difficult to get into it fully on your own, just to allow you to get that nice stretch through the back without having to try and put the effort in and without having to focus on keeping your hips forwards. So let's start. You want to start in Ustrasana, thunderbolt pose. So it's just a kneeling pose, nice strong solid foundation. If you can have the knees together, brilliant. Heels together. You can take them slightly apart if that's much more comfortable for you. As I said, just work with your body, what feels comfortable. So, coming up to a high kneeling position, the aim in this pose is to try and keep the hips in this position. So you want your legs to be nice and perpendicular to the floor and the hips to stay forwards. So we're going to start with the easiest version first. So you just want to take your hands to the lower back, fingers facing upwards, and you're pushing your palms into the hip area to push those hips forwards. Inhale up, look up. And exhale, and you're just going to fold backwards over the hands, keeping those hips pushed forwards. Now you don't want to hold this for more than about 5 breaths first. You can extend it out up to a minute once you're used to the position. Inhale it up. And then coming into child's pose as a nice counter pose. Coming back up. Now we're going to go on to the half camel. So this is a little bit more advanced. So again, starting off in that same position, this time you want to tuck your toes. So this raises your heels up a little bit off the floor and makes it easier to reach the ankles or the heels. So again, you're starting in the same position, inhaling up, exhale, folding backwards, and this time, once you've gone back as far as is comfortable, you're going to reach for the heel with that hand. Just the one hand, starting with the right hand. Then bringing the hand back and reaching with the opposite hand. You want to keep the hips in the same position at all times. Bringing the hands back, coming up and returning to child's pose for that counter stretch. Coming up once again, moving on to the next level. So if you found that last one quite easy, then we can move on to the next level of the pose. So again, coming up, tucking those toes. So this time we're going to take both hands down. The important part is to try and keep your hips forwards. So starting from that position, inhale, look up. Exhale, start to bend backwards, and then bring your hands down to your heels. So you don't want your hips to start coming back like this, you want your hips to stay pushed forwards. If your hips start coming back, go back to the previous version. Bringing the hands up, coming up, and then coming back down into child's pose once again. then this time we're going to go into the full pose where the feet stay flat on the floor. Now, my back isn't entirely flexible, so you might see that my hips will come back and I'll struggle to push them forwards. I would usually do this pose with my toes tucked just to get the maximum from the pose without risking any damage to my back or my knees, because as your legs are coming back, it's putting a lot of pressure through those knees as well. So just be a little bit careful when doing this and listen to your body. Don't push yourself to get into the full pose. So again, you're starting off facing forwards, hands on the hips, inhaling, looking up. Exhale, starting to come back, and then taking the hands down and then pushing the hips up. So you can see my hips had to come back in order for me to get into this. I'm not going to hold the position because I can feel that stretch through my thighs and down into my knee. But again, starting off by holding that for 3 breaths, moving up to a minute as you get more comfortable in the pose. The camel is very good for increasing lower back flexibility because of that nice back bend. It also stretches out the thoracic region up here. Just be careful if you've got neck problems because it does compress that area due to the leaning back. However, it can negate the issues that you get if you're sat at a computer all day looking forwards because it's moving that part of the spine in the opposite direction. It also tones the legs, as I'm sure you could feel. So again, coming down into child's pose once you come out of it for a counter stretch. The counter stretches are important to bring your body back into alignment and back into balance. So every back bend should have a forward bend, however small, just to counter the stretch. So, if you're wanting to do this with a partner, one of you would kneel in this position, and the other one would bring their feet where you would have your hands if you're doing it yourself. They would have their bottom on the floor, their feet up on your bottom hip area, exactly where you would have had your hands if you were doing it yourself, and they would take your hands and they would gradually lean back while pushing you forwards, pulling your upper body back. So they're taking all your weight. You're not having to keep your hips pushed forwards. You don't have to worry about anything. You can relax completely into the pose and you still get that nice back bend, and you can go a lot further than you could if you're doing it on your own. So if you feel that you would benefit from this pose but you're struggling with the strain of keeping your hips forward, I would definitely recommend trying to do it with a friend. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.